Okay, so we're going to discuss innovation today. So let's start off with what innovation means to us. Whoever wants to go first.
I mean, innovation, I thought, was the ideas to come together to create something that is to look at something in a new way or a new light. So when people created stuff, so they took a social media website and then they innovated a way to condense the amount of characters that you're able to use to get a shorter point across to allow people to know what you're doing, instead of people who would be on MySpace full-on messages to one another about what they're doing.
MySpace.
Back.
Okay, so to me, I kind of Googled it a little bit to get some ideas. And what I came up with, so it's like either the process of coming up with a brand new idea or like some kind of application to of better solutions to meet better requirements. So like the example that Jack gave, exactly. Facebook and MySpace are already a thing. Twitter kind of took that and put a twist to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
that's what it means to me.
So I guess, yeah, I'm right on the same track. When I think innovation, I think progressiveness. I think moving forward. So just like you said, either improving something or making something even better than what's already there. So Jennifer, you kind of already touched on this about idea of what innovation was. Yeah. So how else do you, or is that how you find your idea? Do you Google things or do you sit and ponder?
So I guess it depends on if it's something I'm already familiar with. If it's a subject I'm already familiar with, then I'll just like kind of think about it. Mm-hmm. I'll brainstorm a little bit, and then I'll just like start to spitball ideas. I'll write things down. I'm more of a list formatter instead of like a web. You know, we did those web things in middle school and things like that. And then like obviously if I'm in a group setting, I'll discuss with the group on some of my ideas. But if I'm not familiar with the subject, I do go to Google, like, to be honest, or go to a textbook or a journal article, like
using your resources.
Yeah, using the resources.
Definitely.
I mean, the way I thought about it was you have a whole bunch of thoughts, and then to come up with an idea is you take those little thoughts that you have about a subject and you try and formulate into one thought that you're able to like bring to other people as, this is my thought, so it becomes an idea at that point. Mm-hmm. So I mean, in one of the TED Talks, he was talking about how people would go to bars and stuff in old times because that was the only thing that you're able to drink, and then they came up with coffee shops. So that's where people came together to discuss ideas and thoughts with one another. Mm-hmm. So they're able to network their ideas, come up with new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this may sound really weird, so don't judge me. I am a thinker. I am always thinking, and I'm very good at overthinking. I wish there was Olympic gold for it because I would win. So the way I come up with my idea is that there's always something in my head. So I'm literally just snowballing it until it makes sense to everyone else. Because to me, it totally makes sense. So I'm really good at just throwing ideas off of people around me. So I guess you kind of said spitballing. Yeah. I call it snowballing, but just don't throw it back. So yeah, that's the way I come up with it. Because if you say a word in my head, then I'm just going to keep going until that formalizes an idea. Make sense?
Yeah. So, side note, how do you feel when? So you said maybe discussing with a group, spitballing with a group. Mm-hmm. How do you feel when you're not comfortable with the people that are in your group? Maybe you don't know them as well. Mm-hmm. Like. Thoughts on
myself
that you just like, yeah, so like how do you feel when you're spitballing ideas to a group that you're not familiar with? Do you just go for it? And
I mean, I test the water a little bit.
Definitely.
Before I jump full into oh my gosh, this no okay, no, that's cool.
Definitely.
Oh, you guys did it? What about this? And just dump all of it on it.
It depends on the response. If I get nothing, then I'm like, okay, and I go back into just thinking only what's in my, like keeping it in my mind. I feel like majority of the time though, if I'm in a group, someone else will start talking, and then if I have that idea too, then I'll just jump on top of it. And if not, then we're all just gonna sit there in silence.
So this makes me think of like honestly, when Aaron asks us a question, we're like,
okay. I feel like we all know the answer. We're just waiting.
And like So Rachel and Emily can like attest to this because they sit next to me. She'll ask a question, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and just like way under my breath,
Yeah.
and then she'll say it, and I'm like, should have said it out loud.
Yeah.
Dang,
Yeah.
that could have sounded smart. Like, I don't know. So that's kind of what I think about like when I'm uncomfortable in a group. In the classroom setting, you don't want to run sounding like an idiot. Like, honestly.
Hey, life happens.
Yeah.
I sound like an idiot 95% of the time.
And you know, you won't know that you're wrong until
Yeah.
you put your idea out there.
Exactly.
So
That's true.
So the next question would be, what's good enough for you? So like we were talking about ideas, how you come up with them. When is an idea good enough for you? What does that mean?
Okay. I took good enough into two separate sections, I guess. I took it as there's the negative good enough where, well, my assignment's good enough. I gotta sleep. My assignment's good enough. I gotta go do this. Like, it's good enough. It's a C average. Like, and then I looked at it as the positive aspect of good enough of my standard is met. This cannot get any better to my knowledge. Like, so I don't know. And like for good enough, like if we're going, say we're going research route.
Okay.
Does my idea have enough support? Does it have enough previous research about it? Does it have enough statistical significance? Like, does it have enough? So the way I read that, I wasn't sure if the good enough meant negative or positive.
Do you want
No,
to? Okay. So, not sound like a pessimist, but nothing is ever good enough because I'm so hard on myself. But to make it satisfactory, because I can't do something forever.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to I guess you could say research or even practical, if I can teach it to someone that does not know it and they get at least some type of like they can grasp it, then it's good enough. When it comes to assignments, if I feel like same thing, if someone who knows nothing about this can come up and understand it, then it's good enough for me. But I feel like there's always room for improvement. So when it comes to like life and things like that, it's like, nah, nothing's ever good enough. You're forever evolving.
Yeah. So your standard, you're saying for your standard for good enough, say you're teaching a class. Your standard for good enough is when your students understand the material.
Yes.
So like your standard is met, and that is your good enough.
I think so.
I was looking more towards the last two questions when it was good enough. I was like, so when is my idea good enough to bring out and be able to talk to other people about my thoughts? Like, you know, I'm able to discuss this idea that I've come up with or this innovation. I think this is good enough, and then I want other people to give me feedback on it so I can make it better. So I think good enough in that sense would be when is something to a point in your mind that you're able to just go, I'm good with this. Like, this is a point that I'm happy with, and I'm gonna take it out and show it to people.
Yeah, like relating to the other two when it comes to ideas, thing was like I feel like it's not good enough because I'm like in my mind I'm like, okay, will they understand this when I say this? And if I feel like they wouldn't, then I just won't give out my idea. You know?
Like there's a better way to formulate your idea that make more sense.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So after you have an idea on a problem, how do you get people to do something about it? So after you identify that you want something to change, how do you convince people that they should feel the same way? That's how I'm taking the question.
I mean, I guess I'll take that. If you have, I think it's more the ability to network the idea to people and see if they have a common issue with that problem. So then you guys are able to brainstorm and come up with new ways to figure out, create innovation into solving the problem. Like in one of the TED Talks, they had the people that right after Sputnik was shot up by the Russians, like people at NASA were just sitting there like, didn't they have a way to communicate with this? And then they were sitting there and they like found the frequency that Sputnik was under. So like they were listening to it like go by and like it would beep every once in a while. And they're like, well, we could take those beeps and check like the Doppler effect to see like how fast it's moving. And then they were able to figure out like the trajectory of it. Bless you.
Thank you.
But they were able to figure out the trajectory and the slope of the whole thing. And then it was like, so if you're able to do that, can't we backtrack that from a random space or a random spot in space to a singular spot on Earth to we have the space or we have the known spot in space to a random spot on Earth to able to do like GPS tracking and things like that. So they had the common problem of first engineer what we've come up with, which was the original problem of what's going on with that satellite that they shot up? Can we figure out what's going on with it? So they came up with a general consensus of a problem, which was things they wanted to know, which was speed and like trajectory, and then they were able to reverse engineer it into solving another problem that the military wanted, which was missile guidance, so GPS.
Good. Okay. So the first thing that came to my mind when it came to this question, I thought about, you guys remember when we talked about back in like English of high school, it's like pathos, egos, and lothos, ethos and lothos. I immediately thought whenever I want something to change, I don't go directly to people's emotion because it affects me. So I feel like, how can I make this affect you? Because I feel like a lot of time people, we don't want to change until we see how it's going to affect us. You know, at the end of the day. So when it comes to getting other people on board, I try to remove myself from the situation and try to put them into it, like put them into whatever I feel is the issue. You guys understand what I'm saying? So the first thing that came to my mind, in the water crisis there. And so when I was doing a kind of like a project thing on this back in undergrad, I had to appeal to people who have never been to Michigan, know nothing about the I've never heard of the town front either before then, you know. So it was like, how do I make them care? So I immediately had to think about, how would you feel if this was you, and how would you feel if you knew your government was doing this, doing that, doing, So I think the only way that I know how to make people, like to get people to agree to want to change, is to appeal to them emotionally.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that. I think you kind of just gotta tug at the heartstrings a little bit, and then that's what you gotta do. I don't know, I agree.
Okay, and so you all know when it comes with change, there can be the good, then there's also the bad. So how do you all deal with that bad that can come with change or innovation?
Well, I guess if there's bad, then you gotta, so like you come up with an idea, it fails, then you gotta be innovative to try and fix it, right? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of a never-ending cycle, I think.
Indeed,
honestly.
I agree.
I mean, once you have an innovation that you see as a problem, you have to, again, network to people to see if other people have a problem with this, or if it's just you having a problem with the innovation, like you don't want to accept it. So if other people are having a problem with it, you guys can brainstorm and come up with new ideas, new innovations to correct this new innovation to be more positive.
Like something I love about research is that you can either strengthen a hypothesis or not. You know, it's not, oh, this failed, it's wrong. You know, and so that's the way I think about when it comes to change. Like, there's no wrong. It's everything. There's a lesson. So this may have not worked going route A. Let's try route A prime. You know. So I think it's just keeping that mindset and keep on thinking. And I really, that's a good point that you made, Jack. That is it you? Are you the problem? Are you the reason why it's not working? So I totally agree.
I think kind of going back to like strengthening your hypothesis, a good example for me was when I was an undergrad, like my freshman year, I was not doing the best in classes, and so I really had to like sit down, reevaluate my life, come up with new ideas on how I need to study better. It wasn't high school. I couldn't just breeze through it, like, you know what I mean? So like I had to figure out like what is working best for me. What are these things? What am I not doing to get the grades that I need to get for these classes?
So how would you all say innovation applies to us as AT students and then as athletic trainers after we're certified?
So I think there's like the obvious. You need to be innovative. We kind of joke about it, the athletic training arts and crafts, right? You need to be innovative with, if you're trying to splint something, come up with a new splint that works for that person. If you're trying to find a donut pad or like pad something up, like, you got to be innovative. You got to know how to make something work for that athlete.
Definitely.
It's not, every athlete's different. Like, there's not two athletes that are the same.
I think that deals a lot with like rehabs too for people. Because I mean, if someone hits a wall doing the same exercise, you need to come up with something new that's gonna work that muscle group or gain that range of motion through the different, not just rely on what's worked in the past.
I think it's not just the physical. I think it's also different ways to keep it fun, to keep them motivated. I've never necessarily been through rehab, but seeing my athletes or the athletes or patients that I've dealt with it's really easy after you're in a 6-week program. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do these same squats again 30 times. So I think you have to be innovative in the manner of reminding them of their goal or giving them little challenges during the rehab to keep it going. As far as students, I don't know about you all, but I feel like this semester is totally different from last semester. Not just the material, and the content, but like the everything around it. Like we're dealing with, for me personally, I think we're dealing a whole lot more with weather that I just don't agree with here. Whereas last semester, I think we got a little bit more sun, and coming from one professor for all 4 or 3 classes to 5 different classes, 4 different professors, and then that one class that we have online for only 6 weeks. So I think as a student, we have to be innovative into knowing what works and learning what works, and not settling into, oh, this worked for me last semester, so I need to just do it for this semester.
I think definitely for this semester, I feel like the difference between semesters comes up in every discussion that I have with these things. But so like time management, that was something I had to be way more innovative about with this semester, especially considering last fall I didn't have a clinical rotation, so I had like all this time on my hands and not anything to do because we were only taking 9 credit hours. Like we didn't have a whole lot to do last semester, and now this semester I'm doing 2 clinical rotations and on top of all the classes. I'm like, okay, I got to be studying all like every minute every day that I have free. So
anything.
No, I mean, to be innovative, I think you also have to look at the way that we look at injuries for what's happening with concussion protocols now, like the innovation that they've come up with for how you go about treating them, the idea that putting someone back into mental games like quick after, because your brain is a muscle. So I mean, if it's injured, you should rehab the muscle as opposed to, let's just go home and don't look at anything, don't think about anything, just relax. I mean, at some point you have to do that, but you also have to get back on and work towards the goal of being better.
Definitely.
I think that's an interesting point. So like when we're evaluating injuries, I think, so I've talked to a lot of trainers about like injuries and stuff, and multiple trainers have said like sometimes I get in this routine of thinking every injury is very similar. So like I know an example that I've talked to certified, like she likes to say like everything's a muscle spasm. And she just like gets in the habit of it's a muscle spasm, it's a muscle spasm, it's
everything that you see is gonna be a muscle spasm.
Like, and she gets in the habit of it. Or like there's another trainer I talked to, like everything is your hips, everything's your core, which most of the time, I mean, a lot of times it is, but like, and I think we need to make sure that we're not getting in that routine of
gonna overlook something.
Yeah, exactly, because you could overlook something very quick, like what we talked about with those IU trainers. Like that was, but like overlooking more serious things,
or even those minor things that still matter. Make sure every injury and every athlete know that they matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do it on time.
I think we're good.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you for joining us.